So as I mentioned earlier, another part that I consider really important is knowing those standard major and minor seventh jazz chords with their corresponding arpeggios, and then knowing the mode underneath the chord that you're playing. I think that's really important because if you're using a diatonic chord progression, staying in the same key, in other words, you can kind of chord chase and play lines that really go with whatever the chord progression happens to be, okay? So let's go back to that C major 7 and take a look at it. Now, the corresponding mode right underneath that chord, and a mode is a scale, okay? We've got our major and our minor scales, and I won't go into detail about the modes here, but the modes are the scales in between those two. That's one way you can look at it. I'll get into modes more heavy later on. But we've got a C major scale, or excuse me, a C major chord. We know the arpeggio. And this is the scale or mode that best suits it, which would simply be the C major scale, which is also known as an Ionian mode. And you can combine that bits and pieces of the mode with the arpeggio, and you get some really nice sounds. And you can look at these for now, not theoretically, but as shapes, okay? And this is something that I do with my students. I like to teach the modes to them as shapes, and then you can travel the theoretical road later on if you'd like. But if you know the shape of each of these modes, then you can play these modes all over the fretboard off of any chord and in any key without having to break it down theoretically, right? It's all about shapes and patterns. So if you know that this is a major chord shape or a major scale shape, then that's what it is all over the fretboard. Now you know an Ionian mode all over the fretboard. That's my point about that, okay? So if we move to the D minor 7th chord, we have what's called a Dorian mode. And what we're doing there is we're moving from D to D, but within the key of C. So we're playing D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, okay? Again, not getting into the modes theoretically here, but that is, again, the shape of a Dorian mode. Wherever you play it, that's the shape of a Dorian mode, and that's really valuable to know, okay? You got the chord, you have the arpeggio. So you've got all of that right underneath your fingers, right underneath the chord. We move to E minor 7, and we know the arpeggio, and that's what's called a Phrygian mode. And you can combine that with the arpeggio as well. Now we move to the F major 7 chord, and we know we have the arpeggio for that. And we have what's called the Lydian mode. And of course we can combine with the mode as well, okay? And then we move to that G dominant 7th chord. We've got the arpeggio. And we have what's called the Mixolydian scale or mode. And of course, as I said, you can play these in multiple fingerings. I'll leave that for another time, but for right now, again. All right. Then we move to the A minor 7 chord. We've got the arpeggio, of course. And we've got the Aeolian mode, or the natural minor scale, actually. 7 flat 5. And we have the Locrian mode. And we wind up right back at C major 7. So there you go with my beginning jazz guitar lesson, okay? Vitally important, major and minor sevenths, because they are just sort of the framework, if you will, of jazz. And of course, jazz can get very extreme when it comes to chord voicings, and it's a wonderful style of music to explore. And so major and minor sevenths, the corresponding arpeggios, and the modes, okay? So for instance, if you were traveling from F major 7th to D minor 7 to maybe C major 7, you've got access to those arpeggios to get inside those chords and really bring them out. But you've also got the modes, and you can combine things together in different ways. And the mode will capture the chord as well. And then the arpeggios. Lydian, Dorian, Ionian, and the arpeggios in combination. So there you go with a beginning jazz guitar, the way I've always liked to teach it to my students. And then from there, you can just go and go and go, and learning some of the great jazz standards, you know, Miles Davis's stuff, Bill Evans, Wayne Shorter, the list goes on and on and on. There's a wealth of beautiful chords and musical knowledge to be had for those who enjoy it and seek it out. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. All the best to everyone, as I always say, and we will see you guys in the next video.